rejection. If you don't learn to take it, you end up getting beat down and you quit. So in this video, I want to teach you how to turn rejection into motivation. Now, in roofing sales, we get rejected, we hear no a whole lot more than we hear the words yes. And rejection, we need to like build up almost like calluses on your hand. So if you work out, lift weights, you know, on those three knuckles, you end up getting calluses that at first, when you first start getting to weightlifting, it hurts. And you're like, man, lifting this heavy stuff, the bar hurts, your hands hurt, they ache. But with practice, we got some turkeys screaming at us. With practice, you end up, you know, your hands get tough and you can handle it. Same thing happens for gymnasts, if you're doing pull-ups or working on the rings, doing CrossFit, things like that. And if we don't get callus, what happens is the opposite. So if you've ever worked out and you know that when your hand has a callus, and every now and again those calluses burst, and what we end up doing is favoring that callus. We limp through and we're like, okay, shoot, my hand hurts. So you begin to favor it, and it's like a wounded animal, you know. So you hold it in close. The same thing's happening with our mindset when we're out at the doors, because if we don't get calloused on rejection, we end up favoring it, and we say, hey, well, you know, I'm going to protect my mind. I don't want to get rejected again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to avoid knocking doors. I'm going to make excuses why I can't do it. I'm going to knock only the easy ones. I'll drive around and wait for that perfect house to show up, the one that the homeowner's already outside and easy to talk to. And I've done this, and I've seen people do it. So we need to learn a way to channel that rejection into something positive. That's what we're going to cover today. First, quick welcome or welcome back. Adam Bensman here, the Roof Strategist, and everything I do on my channel is designed to help you and your team smash your income goal and give every customer an amazing experience. So if you like this video and you want more, jump into my free training center. There's no catch. We got content for owners, managers, sales reps, and the link is in the description below. Now, how do we turn rejection into motivation? Because for everybody, it's different. For some people, it's really easy. They don't take it personally. But for folks like me, who were peacekeeper as a kid, more of a sensitive person, getting into this and shutting the old ways of being was just quite a challenge. So the way that I've learned to deal with rejection is this. If someone says to me, you can't do that, don't do that. Don't do that, because then I'm just going to find a way to do it. I remember I had a spinal surgery. So I had this really big operation as a kid. I had a fracture in L5, my vertebrae. I'm fused from my sacrum up to L4. This was, I was not a candidate for the technology at the time. And I ended up, if the surgery kept me out of a wheelchair, if I wouldn't have had it, I would have been wheelchair bound. I ended up in a back brace from here down to my waist down to my knees, I apologize, for 2 months. I had to live in the living room of the house because I couldn't get upstairs. I was in a wheelchair. My mother was bathing me because I couldn't sit up past 30 degrees, which by the way is like nothing. And I remember the doctors turning to me and saying, Adam, you know, going through this procedure, you're never going to be able to lift heavy things and you're never going to be able to touch your toes. Well, let me show you something here. You're never going to be able to touch my toes, huh? Yeah. And it turns out I'm one of the most flexible men that I know. You tell me no, and I'm going to find a way to make it happen. So everyone taps into this motivation in a different way. And the way that has helped me is that when someone calls me names, when someone rejects me at the door, when someone makes an angry comment or refers to me as a sleazy door-to-door salesperson, it used to at first, like it would beat me down and I'd be like, man, because in my mind, I felt like there was a shred of truth around what they were saying, and it hurt. And it hurt because there was part of me that was like, man, are they right? Is that really who I am? Is that the part of me that makes me upset because they are right? And then the more I first had to tap into the fact that I'm doing amazing work for the people that I serve. When I go out to a homeowner's house and I help them, when I get a call and they say, hey, can we get an estimate on our roof? And I go out there and I find out there's hail damage, and I turn their estimate of them paying out of pocket to getting a roof replaced, like I'm doing incredible work. When I have my first customer that I remember turning like literally 4 no's into a yes. He was an older gentleman, his name was Gerald. He was mowing his lawn, he kept kicking me off his property, and I ended up repeatedly stopping back. I was like, dude, I'm doing so many houses in the neighborhood, like, you need help. He had an old organic shingle, 3-tab shingle, which, by the way, this was in the glory days when you could actually get those things approved. And I ended up getting him approved. His wife and him loved me. They invited me over for dinner. It felt so good to help this elderly person solve such a really big problem. And when I began to really just own the fact that, you know, I'm not here for everybody, but what I am doing, like, I know in my heart that I'm doing incredible work and serving people really well. So that was the first mindset shift, is just really realizing that I'm not everyone's customer, and no matter what we do, we will not please everybody. Like, I could run around with a pot of gold and give it to somebody and say, here's a pot of gold, pick the color of your choice, I'll do your roof for free, and they're still not happy about it. And that's just the nature of the world. And I mean, we see this in politics. We see this with any polarizing view. You see this if you look at my videos. That video, Rejected at the Door, has trolls of homeowners dropping angry comments and calling us names. There's been death threats. I've had people threaten firearm stuff. It's crazy. And by the way, I've responded to them or deleted them. But you'll probably find some there still if you go check that video out. So the reason I say this is we first just need to come to grips with the fact that we are offering a really valuable service, and it may not be for everyone, and not everyone can or will be our customer, and that is okay. So that's step number one. Step number two is that when someone calls me a name, it fuels me to say, let me prove you otherwise. So again, that might be delusional. These are just tricks that work for me, and I'm going to share a few of them. So when someone says to me, you know, you're a sleazeball, go get a real job, I laugh because it makes me want that next sale that much better. Be like, I just knocked a door, made a sale, made a few $1,000s. Meanwhile, they're at some dead-end cubicle job, hating their life and spending their energy yelling at someone as opposed to like contributing to society. But that's kind of a tangent, I apologize. So again, that becomes fuel for me to be like, let me prove you wrong. Let me show you who's boss. And again, some people might jive with that, some people don't, but to me, I love it. Now, I'm gonna give you one other one, and this one's for that turkey. I don't know if you can see that guy back there, but he's a big boy. So when I learned this technique actually in a book on anxiety written by Barry McDonough. It's called DARE, D-A-R-E. So if you're anyone that struggles with anxiety, I recommend that book. But he talks about giving your weak person, your inner person, an identity. And mine has an identity that I've given it, and I won't share its name because it's explicit, but you can guess what it might be, the little something. And my like inner demon, that part of me that was weak in listening to this nasty stuff that I heard, instead of me internalizing it, yeah, they are right, I am that way, I instead visualize that as like the person on my shoulder. So in this example, it's a little tiny dude in a pink tutu with a crop top on and a really high-pitched voice. And I have a name for him I told you is not really that appropriate for YouTube. And I envision him up there and me allowing him, inviting him in and then kicking his butt. And again, that mindset of like, hey, someone's gonna call me this fuel, I let him supercharge this little demon on my shoulder, and then I destroy the demon mentally. And each time I do that, in fact, actually, this is one of my running routes. I turned around because it was getting steep, but running up this hill that came up the backside of where we just turned around is brutal. And when I was running up that hill, there was times I just wanted to quit, wanted to puke, and I just pictured that little demon, and it was like death by 1,000 cuts, and it gave me the motivation to say, no, I'm not that way. So I hope this helps you grab 1, 2, maybe all 3 tools to help you turn this negative rejection into something really positive that can fuel your significant growth. So number 1 is remember that you are valuable. You're offering a valuable service to people. People need you. And if you need a reminder, just go back to all the customers you've served, who you've really liked, or who've liked you, who've thanked you, and that can be fuel to remind you of that, okay? Number 2 is if someone tells you that you can't do something, look at it as fuel to prove them wrong. And again, this may be a good thing, maybe a bad thing, but I use the example of the surgeon that told me due to my fusion, I'd be not flexible and I would never lift heavy weights, which by the way is deadlifting this morning. And again, look at this, you know, many dudes that can just do that for a dude who had a spinal surgery, spinal fusion, like, tell me I can, I'll show you I can. And the third is just to give that rejection persona an identity and invite them in and visualize them and then kick their freaking butt. And when you do this, my friend, I hope that you feel empowered to turn the rejection that you face at the door into motivation, into something positive, into a way to not only fuel yourself, keep your energy high, your motivation high, and allow you to serve even more people and give your gift to the world. So that's all for this video. Thanks for spending your time with me here. And if you want more videos on motivation, jump into my free training center right here. I think you're really gonna love it. Or if you wanna hang with me here on YouTube, hop into this video and I'll see you on the next one.